My name is Teresa Lockwood. I reside in Violin, New Jersey, and I'm listening to, no, I haven't even finished listening to this guy, so, I mean, I don't really care if he just, like, winds up sitting there saying what I said near the end or whatever. This is what, these two cults, Franco and, William Clay do, or whatever, play their games. I wanted to do another video, because I should just jump to it. Yeah, they're basically echoing the slander, by the way. Their other, false, minister, Eddie Haney, echoing the words and false claims that was actually slanderously, said by Lieutenant, Landi, who basically told me, he refusing to take complaints against violent police using these ministers to slanderously harass me, okay, harass and slander my name, and claim that if they preach it, it's true. Even these atheists. The thing is, these churches are anti-theist atheists. Okay, now there's an atheist, and then there's like the anti-theist atheists. The people in the Violent Police Department are anti-theist atheists. Basically, they are against laws of justice, and anything that is righteous, right of God. Whether they claim to believe in God or not, or whatever the case may be, none of them do. They worship themselves. All they do, you know, for example, you know, I'm just going to jump, the thing is I want to do two different things. I'm just going to sit there and say a few things on the false minister, Eddie Haney, repeating the lies of, by the way, he's speaking against gossiping, but he'll listen to the liar, but not the gospel truth, through gossip of truth. Okay? Calls anybody who speaks the truth, as this church cult did to me, a gossiper. Yes, I'm a gospeler, because it means the same thing. Basically, they speak against the gospel. Okay? So, the thing is he is distorting words that I have said in this church. He's doing it deliberately. Okay? But I don't even know why, you know, why don't, these people sat there, appeared to cut me off, excommunicate me. This person doesn't even live in my town, right? Belongs in prison. False pastor William Clay. But he says Pastor Bill. They claim that his friends or whatever, whoever call him Pastor Bill. I've never called him Pastor Bill. I won't. I don't know why. I never actually called him pastor at all, ever. So, well, no, in court, you know, I said Pastor William Clay or whatever, I think, once or whatever. I think that was the only time I said that. But I don't consider him a true pastor. I also did identify them rightly as being servants of Satan. Okay? So, yes, I said that in court. So, the thing is that, alright, I'm going to go back to the other false pastor, Eddie Haney. He's echoing words that were slanderously said of me, claiming that I'm attacking other people for what other people did to me. I never do that. I only judge people, by the way, like I told Lieutenant Landi. I say, excuse me, I only judge people by what you do. Okay, and this is a game thing that they actually played in their church or whatever when I would sit there and speak against the abuses they were committing against me, the crimes they were committing against me, especially a false minister, Debbie Giovanazzi, sat there and said, anyway, you're just sitting there, and when I'm sitting there confronting their abuses, you know, because of somebody else or something else or whatever, or because this or that, and it's just like, I'm only confronting what you're doing. I will sit there and use examples and experiences to compare to what they are doing. See, I'm refused rights by the anti-theist atheist, okay, Lieutenant Landi, and, yeah, formerly, years ago, Wolf, who basically were echoing the same words, and as, former, well, Lieutenant Lene Bowers, made captain later, who are echoing the same words or whatever, and slandering me and refusing my complaints, committing crimes against me, unjustly discriminating against me. Okay? In many different ways and forms. So they use false ministers, by the way, to persecute me. So the police are actually lying to them, and they lie to the police. That would be Frank Appolito, a lot of other false ministers they use or whatever to persecute me, and they destroyed my children or whatever. I have questioned in my mind. The thing is, he does evil on his own. He is misled, manipulated, but he does the same thing. Like, he practices the same thing. So, I mean, when I dealt with all this or whatever, you know, I had to sit there to a point, question, like, some people are deceived and misled. Then there are people, and I have to determine and make judgment on people who are willfully on their own committing evil acts and committing crimes against me or whoever else. Okay, so this is basically the mindset. They're copying my words mindset, by the way, so I now don't even want to say it anymore. But the mindset that I went into to investigate many of these churches in Vineland, where it's just like, you know, I have to go on. I'm going to have to go on. So anyway, so that's slanderously being said of me. First of all, what is happening is I am encountering a bunch of people, even in Vineland, police department, that all their responses are echoing of silencing a victim, which is echoing manipulative tactics used by pedophile clergy. And I told them that. I said, you lie like a pedophile. So, and then of course I told Lieutenant Landi, and as I told others, report yourself. Of course they're not going to do that. But, and then I basically would sit there and tell them, you're obstructing justice. This is what you're doing. Give the list of the crimes, doing slander, libel, false reports, and all these other things. There's also another thing where they actually, when I reported Vineland police using, Chaplain Frank Appolito to, they don't even realize that he was attacking law enforcement. Basically told him, I said, I find it very interesting. I said, listen very carefully, because while you sit there and you all collude together committing crimes against me, you sit there every time you make a rule against me. First of all, it's basically against in violation of my rights. Of course, they're sitting there going around claiming if I'm Christian, I'll surrender my rights, and they've done that for years, by the way. And that was the Vineland Police Department, Internal Affairs, and all of them or whatever, and that's why they're using these false ministers. They're deliberately using them because they were persecuting me, and I spoke against them. So, yes, it is hate crime. So they're attacking me for my religion, which is anything that is just true and right. Okay? So the thing is, which I basically exposed them speaking against themselves. And I basically told Lieutenant Landi, I just said, you know, it's interesting why you're sitting there and getting them to colluding together and making up all these rules to sit there and speak against Jesus Christ and make up all these rules against Jesus Christ, which he's the center of all justice, by the way, and spoke justice and what that is, laws of justice. While you were doing that, it's very interesting when they sit there and try to attack me and make up all these rules, refuse my rights, and slander me. You also attack Jesus, which they don't care. And not only that, they are actually speaking against law enforcement. Yes, police are speaking against law enforcement. So these are the things that basically I have told Landi, I've told other cops, I have written about it and basically exposed that on my police page. So the thing is that, yeah, they're echoing the lies and, the lies of police, okay, which I told Landi or whatever, and then Landi is echoing my words. He echoed other people's words, and he echoed my words. So they're playing head games, they're gaslighting me, and they're echoing my words, like, for example, when I was, like, in court, and I never met a person, they had a false witness that I've never met before, okay, and basically witnessed against me, a person I never talked to, didn't even know, and so he's sitting there, and they're colluding together and having the Vineland police echo my words or whatever, like, oh, I never met him. Now, Landi may have not met him, and I told Landi, I said, if you did not meet him directly, it doesn't really matter. I said, first of all, they're echoing the words in our conversation, what I say to you, what you say. Well, not all of what I say to them, because they're covering that part up. They always have one side of the story. And then if I am innocent and speak against their crimes, you're like, oh, there's two sides to every story. Okay, well, I tell both sides of the story. So, and if I do tell both sides of the story, they'll sit there and take a complaint against anything they try to find against me, which they cannot really do, okay, because I'm not committing crimes against them, and basically not reporting basically the crimes they committed against me, which is what Landi did. Like, oh, so you did this and this or whatever, and then denied that person the harassment of the dispatchers. They have had dispatchers slander me. For example, I'm sitting there speaking against the crimes and hate crimes of Francopolito in collusion with police or whatever, police using them. So I basically left a message on the voice, not on voice, I'm sorry. So I basically called the Violent Police Department, and they asked me what for. I wanted to call what my complaint is, and I basically said and spoke against Francopolito. So they slandered me in a report to again to make it look like that I called the police department for no reason, which is not true. They basically made it a false report, slanderous libel report, falsely claiming that I called the police department because, as they want to slander my religion, and sat there and falsely claimed that I called the police department because Francopolito and I have a difference of opinion. This is what they did. Slandering me to mock me. These are anti-theist atheists doing this. And yeah, some of them claiming to be Christian and are not. Also doing the same thing. Why? Because they are corrupt. They are as corrupt as their churches. They're manipulative liars. And they're corrupt, dirty cops. Okay, they are dangerous, and they are enemies of law enforcement, enemies of God, enemies of justice, enemies of Jesus. See, the true Jesus is the center of everything that is all justice. So, you know, when you attack justice, you attack Jesus, whether you claim Jesus or not. So try to attack the true Jesus, which is what they're attacking in me. Anything right, they're going to sit there and they're going to attack themselves and attack justice and speak against themselves. So they actually had a clergy, Michelle, who has harassed me and made up lies about me before, refused me records. She refused, well, she was told by other officers to refuse me records from the time that I was assaulted at this church, by the way, and they called the police on me after being assaulted by about 5 men, one of them being Eddie Haney, assaulted me and threw me out on the lawn of their church, by the way. Falsely calling the police on me. Their thing is, they don't want me there. Well, I'm allowed to be there. I don't go to any pagan church that I want to. It's not your privately owned house. And I hadn't committed no crimes there. But they didn't want me there because they were abusing me and I was speaking against it. Basically, they want to rape and their victim keep their mouth shut. Basically echoing again, child rapist against their raped victim. That's all they do. They're a cookie cutter. Why? Because everybody else's lives and victims throughout society have been destroyed. So what is happening is all their rules and all these things that they are doing is an echo of basically child rapists who silence their victims. So I may be doing a few videos on this false pastor. I basically was triggered by him last night. I basically had a terror attack, PTSD, that I was got in regards to them actually using my abuser, and them terrorizing me and police or whatever for reporting abuse. Because why? They're all programmed with the abominations of God. Against God, I'm sorry, with the abominations against God, to basically silence the victim. That's what they do. So, and with all that, yeah, I basically woke up like around 2:30 in the morning, just like I couldn't even shake. I couldn't even get rid of it. Like it's a thing when I basically have a PTSD. Apparently, I had nightmares. I don't remember what they were. But like I got up and it was just like, and it just like screams out. So my soul is screaming inside is what is happening. And that's another thing. They're making a false report or whatever. I'm putting it on violent on false reports on the police department page, because I'm sitting there yelling at them. I'm going off, speaking against their sex trafficking ring, and they're basically, they were actually bullying me because I had to make a domestic violence call, mocking me, ridiculing me, sitting there calling me an EDP, calling me mentally ill and everything else like that, hanging up on me, and making up all lies, and then lied and said I was hanging up on them. I was not hanging up on them. And then they're sitting there, oh, she's calling it like 100 times. They were echoing Nell the Wheat, by the way. She was harassing me, hanging up on me, and I had to call back or whatever. So, the thing is that, so they echoed the same thing. Basically, they're psychologically torturing me. And they're basically claiming that I have no rights and I'm not allowed. They told me that I'm not allowed to call the police department. Then they made up a lie, sat there, said I'm only allowed to call the police department if it's an emergency. So, which is not true. All my calls and complaints are legitimate, and they are against crime, and a majority of them are against the crimes of the violent police department, which I am harassed by Eternal Affairs. Eternal Affairs are making up many lies about me, okay, manipulating the situations or whatever, mind raping me. And they've been doing this for years. And it's been over like 50 cops that they have used to terrorize me or whatever for speaking against a mass child rapist who's been convicted of pedophilia, child molestation, and in prison. And they're basically retaliating against me, sitting there claiming all the churches and everything they do is the will of God, okay? And claiming that their terrorism, as they pervert Romans 13, claiming that their terrorism is the wrath of God. Okay, that's what they said. Them and their chaplains, Frank Appolito mainly, they used to sit there and falsely claim this. So the thing is that I haven't committed a crime. They said my crime was sitting there and speaking against the church, and this guy ranted off about, oh, and you blame the church. He's sitting there echoing the lies of the violent police department that he believes in and biasly believes in. He's supposed to sit there and act like he's speaking against these other actions of police or whatever, and he is actually just as corrupt, by the way. Now, I'm not saying he even isn't against this over thing over Floyd or what have you. But regardless, is that he is just as corrupt cop as the rest of them, and they all colluded together. He's trying to cover it up. He got all arrogant and prideful in the courts or whatever because I told the courts that he threatened to destroy me, which his other co-pastor laughed, thought it was funny, and he said I did, which was very strange. And how do I think about that or whatever? He does a lot of things where it makes me question if he directly persecuted me or if he was used as a puppet, lied to, deceived to persecute me. A lot of things I know he did on his own, and attacking my children, I know he did on his own because he was colluding in the courts or whatever and obstructing the case or what have you, and wanted to insert in the courts in the case out of their mouths or whatever a perversion of scripture, and claiming, my household isn't in order. Sit there claim, so I cannot be a minister of God. As they were attacking me, claiming, I'm a busybody, and I basically am not allowed to speak and all these other things, whatever, because I'm a woman minister. He uses false ministers, by the way. And strangely enough, one of the last videos that they posted of their false pastor, Lewis, they I have to check my time. They basically were teaching my teachings that I actually spoke against Lee King because I was told by Lee King Speaking against me for being curious, basically asking questions, which Lee King, false minister Lee King, told me that I'm not to question God when I question him. Yeah, he called himself God. He's in hell right now, so, well, and forever. But, and basically started, like, kicking out random words like Pandora's box and all this other stuff or whatever. And so, I'm not allowed to, like, go to church, and basically they told me that I need to mind my own business for, what? Going to church. This guy called me a busybody for, what was I doing? Oh, I was going to church and wanted to know what you're saying. But they were slandering my life, by the way, perverting my life, and all these other things. See, they just sat there and put these labels on me because I'm a woman. They discriminated against me unjustly for being a woman and a woman with intelligence, and now they're sitting there speaking against intelligence, by the way, using a forged false Bible, by the way. Intelligence is that of the mind, and the Word of God, spoken through Jesus, and the commandments given through God. So love the Lord God with all your mind, body, and soul. Then in the written Old Testament law, it reads strength. Okay, the soul of your person, your mind, body, and soul. So, and I just want to let you know that they're also trying to cover up just recently or whatever because they were speaking against the mind. And this pastor and the false pastor Frank Apollo, which he's trying to cover up. That's William Clay. The other one, Frank Apollo, trying to cover up because I spoke against him, speaking against the mind and attacking me for any knowledge and intelligence of me or whatever. And they both are sat there and said it's not about the mind, it's about the heart, pointing to their chest cavity or whatever. The organ in your chest cavity. And teaching, I taught Lee King, where I basically said the heart in many areas in the Bible is speaking about the core of your spirit, okay, of the mind, the heart of your mind. This is why I use the words heart of your mind, okay. So basically the core, the very core within you. So I'm just gonna play this.
This is the covenant, meaning the new covenant, I will make with the house of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put...
They're reading from a garbage Bible.
And write it on their hearts.
Yes, that does say that.
It would be extremely strange. See, everybody understands the old covenant written on tablets, and they're all trying in their humanness and their human abilities to...
He has a false teaching and claiming that the spirit, the letter of law is the Old Testament or the Old Covenant, and I'm gonna do another video on that. And the New Covenant is the Spirit or whatever, and they're acting like they didn't have the Spirit and all these other things or whatever. I'm not just gonna put it in here, but it was on his last video, and I basically let me just record. See, I didn't even want to get into this, but. Yeah, I've used basically from Exodus, basically the Spirit, and the Spirit came on the priest, okay, to basically judge and minister to Israel, okay. That's when, oh yes, Moses basically pleaded with God and basically wanted to die, asked God to kill him, okay, because he was so overwhelmed, by the way. And, you know, in Exodus 31:3, I think. And there's another chapter, I think around 35 or something, 33 or 35, where it says, I will put my spirit in you. Okay? And all workmanship or whatever, and basically put the spirit in basically the building of the temple. Yes, art. I actually use that for art, by the way. So the thing is, I'm gonna go on. Yeah, it says gem. It says it talks about like gems and all this other stuff or whatever. And I actually spoke against him. He's ranting off about creativity, but he says a lot of things against creativity. His daughter, stepdaughter or whatever, basically went to school for art, and they were conflicting. And I was like, here we go again. It's like going to school growing up and confused by the delusions of the people I'm listening to. It's like having a science book and them speaking against science. So, Yeah, science is compatible with religion, by the way. And that's what I teach. So, I'm gonna go on. I'm just gonna record this.
Obey God based in their own natural person's abilities, but they're constantly falling short of it.
Let me tell you something. When they sit there and say, "Oh, somebody else is falling short," if you don't live to what he wants you to do and how he thinks you should do something and look like according to him, this false god here. Yes, we are all gods, by the way. And there is one God, the highest God above all. And their God is Satan. So that's who they worship. And I don't even want to do this. I really don't. I'm really getting sick of this. I'm getting sick of these people, but they're poisoning society.
When I'm not going to write the law of God upon a tablet, I'm going to write it internally upon a person's heart and mind.
He writes evil in people's souls and creates sons of hell. Just like all these other false ministers, by the way.
I will put my law on their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their God and they will be my people. We will have a relationship, which is absurd to even think of, because the Israelites are scared to death of God. How can I have a relationship with Yahweh? I can't even pronounce his name, because I believe somehow or another that's incorrect to even say who God is. No.
He's twisting my words. He's mocking me again, by the way. And by the way, he's basically stealing a lot of things from me while he mocks me. Frank Apollo does the exact same thing. This basically started actually in a class of Lee King, false minister Lee King. And it's 27 minutes. I'm going to have to cut this off. And I was trying to have, like, casual conversation. He was attacking me. Like, almost every time. He was very, very, like, just attacking and offensive. Every time I just try to share things that I knew I wanted to share with him because his teachings were false. And I had to do it very submissively, or whatever. I was scared. Okay? And no, no, they're not my God. He just sit there and just kind of reflected, like, how can you sit there and be scared? And God, I was scared of him. No, they weren't my God, by the way. I would not yield to their false teachings and their false ways, and I questioned them. That's why they persecuted me. Now, I was originally persecuted, first for not believing Jesus is God and questioning John Wesley. It was like I was brought to by another false minister, Dawn Reed, into a class or whatever, and they were teaching John Wesley that was completely in conflict against, like, everything that Jesus stood for and taught, and I questioned it, and she was like nudging me. They did that. Okay, I just gotta I can't go. I'm gonna go into another conversation. But the thing is, I basically shared in a class when everybody else was discussing that it is said that they would not mention their names except in the temple once a year. It was just from Jewish research, out of all reference, and basically I extended another research or whatever, basically out of Jewish encyclopedia. That's what it was said, and basically a W isn't equivalent in language. I can't get in that teaching. I did have it, deleted it, but I'm going to be cutting off. So the thing is that I can't get. I'm going to have to get another teaching. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to sit there and just do another teaching, another video. But he's basically taking words of mine and twisting them. I gotta end this. I'm not gonna be able to get into it. It's gonna cut me right off.